Hi everyone, and welcome to the third and final installment of our Empire Builder Trip Report series. Over the past two videos, we've taken you aboard Amtrak's Empire Builder from Portland, Oregon, traveling towards Chicago, Illinois. Along the way, we've enjoyed views of the Pacific Northwest, the Rocky Mountains, and the Great Plains. We took this trip in March 2022, having taken advantage of Amtrak's Buy One Bring One sale. We bought 2 coach tickets for the 3-day journey for $70 a person. For seat comfort reviews and other things like bathroom reviews aboard this train, please watch one of our 2 previous videos on the Empire Builder. We begin today's video in western Minnesota. Minnesota wakes us up with one of the most beautiful sunrises I've seen in my entire life. In the early morning, the Empire Builder stops at Detroit Lakes, Staples, and St. Cloud, Minnesota. Between Staples and St. Cloud, we cross the Mississippi River for the first time. We will be staying on the left side of the Mississippi until the Twin Cities. Speaking of which, we are fast approaching them. This gives you an opportunity to see all sorts of cool locomotives you can't really see anywhere else, like the Twin Cities and Western Railroad or the Minnesota Commercial Railroad, of which I actually got to see a slug. Both of these are short-line railroads operating around the Twin Cities area. So what exactly are the Twin Cities? Well, it's a nickname for the St. Paul, Minneapolis metropolitan area, an area in Minnesota that has a population of over 1 million people.
It's been a long time since we've traveled through any sort of urban area.
Basically, St. Paul and Minneapolis are both very large cities situated very close to each other. St. Paul on one side of the Mississippi, the side we're on, and Minneapolis on the other side of the Mississippi. Minneapolis is the larger of the two, but St. Paul is the state capital of Minnesota. The Empire Builder stops in St. Paul, but not in Minneapolis, despite the train physically traveling quite close to Minneapolis, just on the other side of the Mississippi River. St. Paul Union Station, which we are approaching now, is right next to the Mississippi River, at a much deeper level than most of the city of St. Paul. There is some transit connecting the Twin Cities. The Metro Green Line, which is a light rail line, crosses the Mississippi River and connects Target Field in Minneapolis with St. Paul Union Station. Currently, there is talk about Amtrak extending one of their several Chicago-Milwaukee trains all the way to St. Paul. The Twin Cities are a large metro area, so it will be interesting to see if these plans come to fruition.
Yeah, I can't. It's kind of crazy. When I took the Southwest Chief, we crossed the Mississippi River to get into Iowa from Illinois. I've seen the Mississippi all the way down in Memphis, Tennessee, and now we're running right next to it up in cold, freezing Minnesota.
It's just crazy how long the Mississippi River is. People commonly associate it with the south of the United States because a large chunk of the Mississippi does go through the south, but it actually originates here in the state of Minnesota, and even up here, the views of the river are gorgeous. The Mississippi is not the longest river in the United States. That title goes to the Missouri River, but the Mississippi is still an impressive 2,340 miles long. That's over 3,700 kilometers. Soon after St. Paul, we cross over the Mississippi again to run on the right side of the river.
The weirdest thing about taking the train through Minnesota, which, feels super Midwestern, is realizing that 2 days ago we got on this train in freaking Portland, Oregon.
It's easy to tell that Minnesota is by far the most populous state of the states we've traveled through since Oregon. The state is home to 5,750,000 people. That's 5 million more than our previous state of North Dakota. Still, that doesn't mean that this is just one giant urban sprawl. Minnesota has a very large area, And we're still going to see plenty of beautiful scenery along the way. So for today, Bear and I have snagged a spot in the observation car again. Throughout this journey, we really have spent the majority of our time awake in this car, going back to our seats really only just to grab stuff or to sleep at night. Look at the Mississippi River. It is actually frozen over here. Even in early March, it gets cold in Minnesota. The other side, by the way, that's the state of Wisconsin, which we'll be entering in a few hours. Our final stop in Minnesota is Winona. This small town of about 25,000 people is perhaps most famous for being the birthplace of actress Winona Ryder. That's right, she was named after the town she was born in. Of course, Ryder is known for many roles she has played throughout her career, most recently reprising her role as Joyce Byers in Season 4 of the Netflix hit series Stranger Things. Almost surprisingly, after traveling through the plains for so many hours, some rocky hills begin to appear on the horizon. This isn't the kind of landscape that I used to associate with the Midwestern United States, but these sights will actually become even more common once we cross into western Wisconsin, which we are doing now that we're crossing the Mississippi River for the third and final time. The river here forms the border between Minnesota and Wisconsin, and immediately after crossing the Mississippi, we make our first stop in the town of La Crosse, Wisconsin. After Tomah, we head in a southeastern direction towards Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on our way passing the resort town of Wisconsin Dells. Wisconsin Dells has a population of a little over 2,000. Despite its small size, it's a major stop on the Empire Builder and a major tourist destination in the Midwest, for multiple reasons. The city is named after the dells of the Wisconsin River, these rock formations in the river that are just barely visible from the train. But Wisconsin Dells is also the self-proclaimed water park capital of the world, attracting many families looking for some summer fun. Another interesting feature to note about the Empire Builder is that it actually does not serve Madison, Wisconsin. Madison is the capital city of Wisconsin and a very cute town to visit. But alas, no Amtrak station. Late in the afternoon, we begin our approach into Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're still carrying that delay of about 2.5 hours, a delay we just weren't able to shake off for the entire trip. Milwaukee is the largest city in Wisconsin and is the second largest city on Lake Michigan, the largest of course being Chicago. Besides the Empire Builder, Milwaukee is also served by Amtrak's Hiawatha, which runs several times a day between Chicago and Milwaukee and also serves Milwaukee Airport. Milwaukee further has the Hop, a modern light rail system that runs on the streets of the city. Milwaukee Station certainly is the most modern station building we've come across on our journey. Because of our train's delay, we actually didn't have any fresh air stops on our trip today, so Bear and I stayed in the train all the way from waking up until the moment we got off the train in Chicago. Now, when I rode Amtrak Southwest Chief, they closed the observation car a little bit after San Bernardino, California, meaning we had to spend the last hour of our trip in our coach seats. However, on the Empire Builder that wasn't the case, and I stayed in the observation car until well into the Chicago suburbs. We've crossed the border into Illinois now, and soon we will join the tracks of Metra's Milwaukee District North Line. We're actually doing a trip report on Metra Saturday, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome so you don't miss this trip report. Seeing a Metro train really makes it feel like Chicago is coming closer and our journey is coming to an end. But there is one more station before Chicago.
This is Glenview. It kind of feels weird that this train that just traveled 2,000 miles all the way from Oregon is stopping at a commuter rail stop in Chicagoland.
That is the cool thing about Amtrak, when you stop and think about the distances you've traveled and the places you've seen in just a few days.
Made it to Chicago Union Station.
Welcome to Chicago, the third largest city in the United States and the place I currently get to call home. We just spent about 48 hours on Amtrak's Empire Builder. With the buy one bring one promotion that Amtrak had in February, each of our coach tickets only cost $70. $70 for 3 days and 2,200 miles was great value in my opinion. Amtrak trains are very comfortable, and though it's not fast, in my opinion, it's one of the best ways to be able to see the country that you're traveling through. I can't wait for my next Amtrak long distance journey. And if you're thinking of one to do yourself, I highly recommend the Empire Builder. Thanks so much for following along with our journey. If you haven't already, subscribe to Trains Are Awesome and leave a like, and we'll see you next time for another train trip report.